Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my week number 4 quarterback rankings for fantasy football in 2021. Inside today's video, we're going to be discussing my top 24 ranked quarterbacks of the week, as well as going in depth into why I have them ranked at each and every single spot inside the top 24. But before we get on into things, I'd like to ask if you are new to my channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you do hit that subscribe button down below, because not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 fantasy football championship. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure you hit that like button down below to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. I'd also like to ask if you guys are on Twitter and would like to follow me, to please do so at Notorious FNTSY. The link to my Twitter is also down below in the description. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 4 quarterback rankings. We begin at number 1 with Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills going up against the Houston Texans. Right now, based upon the sports books that I was looking at, the Buffalo Bills are favored to win this game by, you guessed it, 17 points. 17 points. Now understand, that is a very normal spread in college football, but in the NFL, it's very odd to see teams favored by more than 2 touchdowns in any given game. That just goes to show you that Vegas, as well as I assume most people on the earth, believe that the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen are going to absolutely decimate the Houston Texans defense. The Houston Texans defense looks amazing in week number 1. Up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Houston Texans defense basically looks like a reincarnation of the '85 Bears. But then after that, they fell directly off of a cliff. And here, going up against the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen, after the shit kicking that Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills just gave to the Washington football team, the Houston Texans defense stands no chance. And a lot of people talk about how, hey, since they're going to be scoring so many points, aren't they going to run the ball late on the game? Isn't Josh Allen not going to have a huge game because they're winning by so much, and then Josh Allen just won't get too many points after halftime? The counter argument to that is that we saw a shit kicking by the Buffalo Bills happen last week up against the Washington football team. And guess what? Josh Allen was very, very good in that matchup, just like he will be this week up against the Houston Texans. To me, it's kind of a no-brainer to put Josh Allen at number 1. At number 2, we have Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs going up against the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. We just saw the Eagles get absolutely dismantled by the Dallas Cowboys offense and the Dallas Cowboys defense as well, because the Dallas Cowboys defense played quite well up against Jalen Hurts and friends. With that said, I believe that Patrick Mahomes is going to have an amazing game. Patrick Mahomes this season hasn't necessarily fallen off the edge of an earth, right? Nobody's going to make fun of Patrick Mahomes for being some type of bum quarterback, because he isn't. But he's also not playing at MVP caliber level Patrick Mahomes that we're used to seeing in the past. Now, is that because teams have figured out Patrick Mahomes? Probably not, right? It's impossible to stop how skilled Patrick Mahomes is. So this week, going up against the Eagles, a defense who just got railroaded by the Dallas Cowboys, I expect Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs to easily win this game. A lot of people are kind of down on the Chiefs right now because they don't have the best record. They're not one of the best teams in the NFL right now. But at the end of the year, you're going to completely forget what was happening early on in the season, and you're going to remember that Patrick Mahomes is amazing. He's still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and I expect him to put up a big show this week like the WWE wrestler up against the Philadelphia Eagles. At number 3, we have Tampa Bay Tom Brady going up against his former team, the New England Deflatriots in Foxborough. Tom Brady is coming home. Tell the world that he's coming home, and Tom Brady is going to pick apart this Patriots defense. The Patriots defense is pretty good. Maybe you could say that they're really good, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Now, there is definitely some type of a chance that Bill Belichick, the mad scientist himself, has carved up some type of game plan to completely stop Tom Brady. Is that going to be likely to me? Probably not. But Nick, it doesn't seem like Gronk's going to play, right? Gronk's doubtful. Maybe he doesn't play. If Gronk doesn't play, guess what? You still have O.J. Howard. You still have Cameron Brate. You still also have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown. There is no way that the Patriots can stop this offense. No matter how good the defense is, they can't seem to figure out how to stop Mr. Tampa Bay Tom Brady. I expect Tom Brady to be fired up. I expect Tom Brady to dig a metaphorical grave at the center of the field in Foxborough and throw all of them into it. I believe that Tampa Bay Tom Brady is going to go in there and put up a humongous game. I'm talking about how maybe he's the number one quarterback on the week, but Josh Allen's matchup was just too juicy for me to end up moving Tom Brady to number one. He's going to have a huge game. You can just see it easily. Tom Brady has been on a warpath in the NFL thus far this season, and I believe that will not stop this week up against Bill Belichick and the Patriots. At number 4, we have Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals going up against the LA Rams in LA. This is going to be one of the most interesting matchups of the week, as my number 5 ranked quarterback on the week is Matthew Stafford of the LA Rams going up against the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I previously had Matthew Stafford ranked a little bit lower, and then I moved him up before I made this video because I just got to thinking that I really do believe this is going to be a toe-to-toe matchup. Now, DeAndre Hopkins, I almost said DeAndre Swift, obviously that is the incorrect team. DeAndre Hopkins on the Arizona Cardinals isn't 100% healthy, and I've been seeing some rumors that maybe he does have some type of rib injury that is going to hamper him in this game. Now, you might be thinking, oh, Nick, now maybe you don't want to play Kyler Murray this week. Maybe you want to detract Kyler Murray. But that didn't really seem to matter when AJ Green was just going balls deep into defenses last week. They still have Rondell Moore. They still have Christian Kirk. They have a lot of weapons over there in Arizona that are big-time pass catchers, as well as Chase Edmonds. While he is a running back, he is still a key piece in this offense. I think Kyler Murray and the LA Rams, so Kyler Murray and Matthew Stafford, they go toe-to-toe. These are two teams with solid defenses, but I believe this is going to be a back-and-forth firefight type of match, which is going to involve a lot of points to the quarterback position. Kyler Murray and Matthew Stafford, quarterback 4 and 5 on the week. At number 6, we have Justin Herbert, the pervert of the LA Chargers, going up against the Las Vegas Raiders in LA in this game. Justin Herbert has been playing lights out thus far this season. Now, he hasn't necessarily put up all of those big games, the huge numbers that are going to win you your week game in and game out, but he has looked just like the same quarterback that he was last year in his rookie year, where he won Offensive Rookie of the Year. This matchup up against the Las Vegas Raiders, based upon how the offense has played for the Chargers and based upon how the offense has played for the Raiders, on paper does look like to be a very high-scoring matchup. Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, and Thursday Night Football, basically every single week, have been very, very good matchups, so I expect this one to be the exact same. I think Justin Herbert looks very good in this game, as Mike Williams is looking like he's going to finally have that year where everything finally connects. All the pieces of the puzzle match together, and Mike Williams finally has that great year. At number 7, we have Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens going up against the Denver Broncos in Mile High. Reports right now are talking about how Lamar Jackson has a back injury. Maybe it's from carrying the Baltimore Ravens offense for all those years without any really elite weapons at the wide receiver core. But, you know, I digress. He's going to be fine in this game. This matchup up against Denver will really prove how elite is the Denver Broncos. Are they some type of fraud, 3-0? Because, you know, they've only played the Jaguars, they played the Jets and the Giants. Or maybe it's just that, hey, they're just playing who's in front of them, obviously. That's what you have to do. And maybe they are a very legit team and they play very close to the Baltimore Ravens, or maybe even go ahead and fuck around and beat the Baltimore Ravens. That's going to be a very interesting aspect to this game, as the Denver Broncos have a very solid defense, at least thus far this season. But you can't sit Lamar Jackson. You can't rank Lamar Jackson outside the top 10, because any given week, this man could rush for 90, 100 plus yards. Now, again, obviously that's on the lower chances of an outcome, but at the same time, it is possible every single week, and that's 9, 10 free points if he is able to do something like that. So every single week, regardless of the matchup, you're going to want to play Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson would have had a huge game last week if Hollywood Brown could fucking catch the football. So if those things change, Hollywood Brown makes 2 catches last week, then he has 2 extra touchdowns. Lamar Jackson has a much better week this week up against the Broncos. Again, I am very comfortable starting him, and I expect him to have a solid game. At number 8, we have Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys going up against the Carolina Panthers. Now, the biggest issue with Dak Prescott has nothing to do with Dak Prescott himself. It has to do with the fact that the defense there is legit. And obviously that's great for the Cowboys. That's great for Dak Prescott himself. But for fantasy football, that's far from great. Tony the Tiger himself wouldn't be like, that's great. He'd be like, Now, that's not very good. You want to know why? Because if they're up in the game and the defense actually does something, then they won't have to crawl their way back into the game. They won't have to sling the rock 7 zillion times deep into the game to give Dak all of those bonus points. They could run the ball with Zeke. They could run the ball with Tony Pollard. And that is going to lead to less points for Dak. This matchup is going to be interesting up against the Carolina Panthers, as the Panthers, just like the Denver Broncos, how legit are they? And we will see on Sunday with this matchup. So I like Dak Prescott, but I am a little bit worried about the fact that maybe this defense is really good, and they're just going to be running a lot with Zeke later on in the game. At number 9, we have Russell Wilson, quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks, going up against the San Francisco 49ers in San Fran. But before we break down Russell Wilson, I'd like to ask if you guys have ended up enjoying thus far, to please make sure that you do hit that subscribe button down below, as well as hitting that like button down below. I would appreciate it a ton. And let me know down below, what is your guys' favorite matchup of the week? My personal favorite is either Brady versus the Patriots or the Rams versus the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, I'm a Dolphins fan, so the Dolphins versus the Colts is very high on my radar, but obviously as just a fan of the game itself, those are my favorite games. So Russell Wilson, back to it, going up against the 49ers. This season, Russell Wilson, they're letting him cook. He's cooking up a 5-star Michelin meal, Gordon Ramsay style, behind the offensive line. Russell Wilson is dissecting these defenses like he was a professor in a science classroom to a frog. Russell Wilson has been playing lights out. In the dark, spooky season. Happy October. Russell Wilson's going to have a big week this week up against the 49ers. At number 10, we have Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Jalen Hurts is the perfect example of why people talk about in fantasy football how a rushing quarterback, the Konami code at the quarterback position, is broken. Because Jalen Hurts didn't look very good at all last week up against the Cowboys and still puts up a solid game. This week up against the Chiefs, this should be a higher scoring game, you would think, if the Eagles are able to keep up, and that would lead to Jalen Hurts putting up a solid week, but I don't like him as much as the other quarterbacks ranked ahead of him, so he is my quarterback number 10 on the week, but I do expect a solid game. Now on to quarterbacks 11 through 20. At number 11, I moved Aaron Rodgers down a decent bit because while I think Aaron Rodgers should easily rout the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is a tough defensive matchup for obviously the Green Bay Packers going up against the Steelers, and something tells me that we are all so off on Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers that we are all thinking that Big Ben is finished, that Big Ben sucks complete and utter donkey hog at throwing the football. This guy can't do anything. That for some reason, the Pittsburgh, something's just telling me that we are all too in favor of the Packers this week, that the Packers are going to get shit housed by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that maybe we see a down week for Aaron Rodgers. Now, again, it's hard to see that. Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback. So every single week, his down game, a game where I think he's going to probably play like shit, he'd be like quarterback 14. So quarterback 11 is still a fine spot for Rodgers, but I don't like him as much as I did early on in the week. At number 12, we have Captain Cuck. Mr. You Like That, Kirk Cousins of the Minnesota Vikings going up against the Cleveland Browns. Kirk Cousins, this man, I owe this man an apology. I think everyone does as well, because to me, I never said that Kirk Cousins was a bad quarterback. I just think Kirk Cousins is the kind of guy that is like a game manager, right? And that's kind of a fucked up thing to say about a quarterback, because that means they don't really have the skill set to elevate their team. But he's also not a bad quarterback. He was kind of just a guy that he's the quarterback of the Vikings. What he's going to do is make sure the Vikings don't lose the game by making these stupid decisions. He's just going to throw the ball to Thielen, he'll throw the ball to Jefferson, and things will be okay. He can hand it to Dalvin Cook. But this year, Kirk Cousins is slicing and dicing his way through the defense like his name was O.J. Simpson. Now, the glove didn't fit for O.J., but the glove fit perfectly on Kirk Cousins as he's slapping these guys with one glove on like his name was Michael Jackson. So I believe Kirk Cousins is in for a big week yet again. Yet again, Kirk Cousins is on fire. Continue to ride in the flame. Kirk Cousins, quarterback 12 this week as a quarterback number 1. At number 13, we have Ryan Tannehill of the Tennessee Titans going up against the New York Football Jets in the Meadowlands. Ryan Tannehill moved down my rankings after I knew A.J. Brown was going to play, but now Julio's not going to play. Yikes. Now, Nick Westbrook, they have these other guys, right? So Tannehill will be fine. This is a great matchup up against the Jets, but I feel like they're just going to look to run a train on the Jets. Now, the Jets defense is actually pretty solid up against the run, but pretty solid, meaning that they just don't completely suck like they do up against the pass. So I think that Ryan Tannehill may struggle a bit in this game because he doesn't have all those weapons, but at the same time, you don't need some elite fucking weapons. You don't need Randy Moss and Jerry Rice out there to torch the Jets defense. So he should be fine. Quarterback 13. At number 14, we have Derek Carr of the Turn Your Volume Down, the Las Vegas Raiders at the LA Chargers. Just like with Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr is on a hot streak. Derek Carr is on fire. The Raiders are on fire. They're 3-0. They're going up against a tough Chargers team. But like I talked about with Justin Herbert, the pervert, I believe that this is going to be a back and forth affair. Now, quickly, let me just mention something. In the videos, I've seen comments like, oh, why do you call Justin Herbert a pervert? He's not actually a pervert. I know. I understand that he's not a pervert, okay? The reason why I say it is because it rhymes. And because Herbert the pervert is a character from Family Guy. So Justin, if you're watching this video, which you're not, I don't think that. I like you. You're a great quarterback. Great guy, probably, I would assume. So go ahead and keep doing your thing. I just figured I would mention that because I've gotten so many comments about that, and I just don't get why anyone thinks I'm being completely serious when I say things like that. So back into it. Derek Carr should have a solid week. Yet again, I like Derek Carr. If Derek Carr had a legitimate wide receiver one, like if Antonio Brown actually stayed there, imagine how much better Carr could be week in and week out. His number one receiver is a tight end named Darren Waller. So with that said, I still like Derek Carr, though. Number 15, we have Mono Man Sam Darnold of the Carolina Panthers going up against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, normally, if you're going up against the Dallas Cowboys in the last year or at the beginning of the season, I'd be like, oh man, this is the best matchup you can get. The Dallas Cowboys defense basically just gets on their knees and lets you throw touchdowns against them. But more recently, this defense has looked really good. With that said, though, I still like Sam on the week. I think this Panthers team is legit. They are 3-0. I think they're a very legitimate team. I think that Sam Darnold getting away from Adam Gase has freed the man and given this guy the keys that he needs for success in Carolina. I like Sam Darnold. I like DJ Moore. I like Chuba Hubbard. I like the Panthers to play close in this game and potentially beat out the Dallas Cowboys. Number 16, we have Taylor Heinicke. Taylor Heinicke, quarterback of the Washington football team, going up against the Atlanta Falcons. Now, basically, anytime a quarterback goes up against the Atlanta Falcons, that is a wet dream level of matchup. Shout out to J. Cole. I think Taylor Heinicke could have a big game here. Taylor Heinicke and the Washington football team got spanked by Josh Allen. We talked about that earlier. And even in the case of a disgusting spanking, I'm talking about the ass of the Washington football team was red as it gets. Taylor Heinicke still played fine for fantasy. This week he gets the football team, or this week he's on the football team, obviously. He gets the Atlanta Falcons defense. This could be a relatively high-scoring game if Matt Ryan is able to get it done. But if it's not, Taylor Heinicke will be a one-sided affair, beaten down on the Atlanta Falcons defense. I love Heinicke this week at quarterback, number 16. At number 17, we have my boy, quarterback of my Miami Dolphins, Jacoby Brissett, going up against the Indianapolis Colts. Now, rumors are circling about Deshaun Watson coming to the Miami Dolphins potentially as early as Monday next week. Now, I'm not telling you that is 100%. Those are just things I've read on the internet. I'm not going to claim here to be Adam Schefter, to be Ian Rappaport, and that this is 100% true, but this is something to think about. Because if that was to happen, then you would presume that Watson would be a top 5 quarterback in Miami. That's at least what I think with the weapons there as a Dolphins fan. So Brissett playing this week up against the Colts. This is what we would call a revenge game. Jacoby Brissett gets passed on by the Colts, and he's here to beat the Colts down. The Colts defense looks putrid. The Colts offense looks putrid. Jacoby Brissett and the Dolphins by at least 2, because I bet them -2. I love them this week. The Dolphins over the Colts. And again, this is no bias because last week I talked about how I was worried about the Dolphins going up against the Raiders. So I don't really have too much bias when it comes to it. I'm wearing my Dolphins shirt right now. I wear it all the time. I love the Dolphins. They are my favorite team, but I put the bias aside for these fantasy videos. I like Jacoby Brissett a lot this week, though. Like I said, this is a revenge game. I'm someone who loves revenge games, and I love quarterbacks playing up against bad defenses, and that's exactly what we got this week with quarterback 17 in Jacoby Brissett. At number 18, we have Teddy Two Gloves, Teddy Tuggs, Horsecock Teddy Bridgewater of the Denver Broncos going up against the Baltimore Ravens. Again, like I talked about with the Ravens, this is the prove-it game for the Broncos. Are they legit, or were they just beating down on Division III football teams? Were they beating down on the JV squad? Is that what was happening there? We shall see. Teddy Two Gloves has looked good. Last week, I expected a huge game, and he didn't play that good because guess what? They were destroying the Jets. So they didn't really have to throw the ball. They just ran the ball a lot with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. That is kind of what we talked about with Tannehill, and that's what we're going to talk about here. This week, though, they get the Ravens. So this should be a higher scoring game in which Teddy Two Gloves is going to have to air the ball out more, which should lead to more fantasy football success. At number 19, this is basically where the quarterbacks drop off big, in my opinion. Like, I'm talking about how I'm pretty confident in the top 18, and now it's like, I got to start Baker Mayfield this week. Now, Baker isn't a bad quarterback. Baker's actually I talk about this a lot with Baker Mayfield, but he's a really good NFL quarterback. It's kind of like what I was talking about Kirk Cousins, all right? Baker's in the situation where basically all he has to do is not fuck up, right? You hand the ball to 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, you hand the ball to Kareem Hunt, and they pound the rock down your throat. That's the Kevin Stefanski offense, and you win the football game. The way you lose is by Baker Mayfield fucking up, and typically that's not what happens. Baker Mayfield plays well enough to not mess up. They don't really have too many receiving weapons because Jarvis is out. Odell is the main guy. Now, I think Odell could have a great game this week, while simultaneously Baker doesn't, because Odell could get 10 catches. He can get 90 yards. And then boom, that's 19 PPR points, and that's a good game. But in reality, Baker's not really benefiting heavily from that if Odell doesn't score multiple touchdowns. So I like Odell this week. I don't like Baker as much, but I do expect this to be a high-scoring game. It's just that the Browns really heavily utilize that rushing attack. At number 20, we have Matty Ice Baby dun 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 of the Atlanta Falcons going up against the Washington Football Team. The Washington Football Team's defense is overrated. The Washington Football Team defense is absolute dog shit, absolutely terrible. Matt Ryan, though, he also seems to be absolutely dog shit. That offensive line folds. It's basically a turnstile. I expect Calvin Ridley to have a good game, kind of just like how we talked about how I like Odell, but I don't like Baker Mayfield, similar to with Matt Ryan and Mr. Calvin Ridley. Cordero Patterson will probably have a big game too, but that's from running the rock. I don't know. I just don't trust Matt Ryan anymore. He just doesn't seem like he's the same guy from a couple of years ago when he won the MVP. Next up, we got Triple J's. Jameis Winston at 21 of the New Orleans Saints going up against the Giants. Now, every single week is basically just a choose-your-own-adventure for Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston makes these plays that are so fucking stupid. I don't remember if it was last week, but basically he's running around in the pocket, running left, running right, and he's getting tackled, and as he's falling down, it was like a step back shot in the NBA. He's like falling back. There was clearly like a foul if this was the NBA. The other guy's touching him up. He's fucking pushing him down, and he throws it up. He yells, Kobe. He throws that thing, and then boom, it's a touchdown. But in reality, that was a terrible fucking throw. He should never have thrown that. It should have been picked, but instead, it was a touchdown. That's the Jameis factor. That's why it's so fun to watch Jameis Winston play football. But when he's on your fantasy team, it's a huge risk. But there's also huge rewards because Jameis could easily be like a top 5 quarterback on the week, but the risks kind of outweigh the rewards in my opinion. So quarterback 21 on the week. Number 22, we have Justin Fields of the Chicago Bears going up against the Lions. And Justin Fields, man, oh man. Man, oh man, is he even the starting quarterback right now? Because Matt Nagy's talking about how it's a game-time decision. The fuck you mean this is a game-time decision, pal? What are you talking about? Last week, let me tell you, this is a victory lap and a half. Everyone last week was Gawk Gawk 9000. Basically sucking this guy off before he even graces the gridiron with his first NFL start. And look, it's not even his fault that he played bad, right? He got 68 yards. That's terrible. But it's because the offensive line, like I was talking about earlier with another player, it's a turnstile. It opens up, it spreads its legs wide, and the defense pounds it all night long. Justin Fields is going to get rocked in this game up against the Lions. The Lions defense isn't even good, and he's going to get rocked. So Justin Fields is a quarterback that for career long, I like him. But right now, based upon what we've seen out of Chicago, based upon the uncertainty that he's even the guy, you can't trust him this week. At number 23, we have Jimmy G, Jimmy Guap, Jimmy G-Spot, Jimmy Pornstar of the San Francisco 49ers going up against the Seattle Seahawks. Jimmy Guap has looked solid this season. Jimmy Garoppolo appears to be in the position where he's basically just chilling out like, you know what? If I just play decently, I'm not going to lose my job because I have these great weapons around me. Brandon Ayuk has been freed out of the doghouse. And we have George Kittle. We have Deebo Samuel. We have these running backs that are interchangeable. One goes down, another goes in, and they're magically just good because of the Kyle Shanahan system. The issue with Jimmy Guap every single week is there's always a chance that Shanahan tugs out Jimmy Garoppolo, gives him a nice, get the hell out of here, pal, and then he brings in Trey Lance. Trey Lance runs in a touchdown, throws a touchdown, and then Jimmy Garoppolo's in the whole game, right? He doesn't get pulled for the whole game, but now one touchdown has been stolen. And now maybe he only throws one touchdown, scores one touchdown, and they run a couple in, or Trey Lance steals another touchdown. You just can't trust Jimmy Garoppolo. And it's not because Jimmy Garoppolo is bad. It's because of the team he's on is great. But the situation there with Trey Lance always looming in the distance is worrisome for me because it will vulture a couple of touchdowns. So, yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's a no-go for me this week. But he is quarterback 23 because I could see him putting up big points this week. I just worry about the Trey Lance factor. 24, we have Danny Dimes, Danny Fumbles, Danny Stumbles, Danny Jones, quarterback of the New York Football Giants, everyone's favorite future State Farm insurance salesman. Daniel Jones going up against the New Orleans Saints in the NO. Daniel Jones is probably going to be without Shepard, probably going to be without Darius Slayton. I believe they've both already been ruled out. Not 100% certain on that, so I say I believe. And, I mean, like all week I talked about how they were going to be out, so it shouldn't be a surprise to you. Look, without them, it's just Kenny Golladay and Saquon Barkley versus the world up against the New Orleans Saints defense that, while has been on a rocky road all season, looks pretty good. I don't trust Daniel Jones. The guy fucking stinks, so don't play him this week. Quarterback number 24. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did end up enjoying, please make sure that you do hit that like button down below, as well as hitting that subscribe button. I love you guys all so much. I hope you have a great rest of your guys' day, and as always, good boy!